and I had no intention of being an entrepreneur. But I looked around, I went to a few job interviews, and I got the same thing over and over. You're overqualified. I wasn't getting any. I worked for an educational organization, so I wasn't really getting any corporate offers. I was also a college professor. I taught as an adjunct for 10 years. So I had that going on, and I was also a fine art photographer. So I was doing other things. I always had my own thing. But when I heard that I was overqualified over and over again, the light bulb kind of went off. And that's when I realized, after all those years of doing all this creative work and publishing and public relations and this and that, that, you know what, maybe I do have more skills than the average person. And so I was going to offer those to the world on my own. And I said to myself, okay, Carol Ann, you're going to try this entrepreneur thing, but if you're going to do it long term, you have to replace your income that you were making at your job. Well, guess what? I went on to make 6 figures that year. And it wasn't all through my business, but what I was doing in my business was enough to replace my income. So what that showed me, I did have a couple windfalls. What that showed me was that I did have the ability to make money. And I think that's very, very important if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Some people don't make any money at first. It takes a while. So you have to get yourself in that mindset. So the company I started was Big Eye Media, and I called it a creative services agency. I focused on marketing other people's businesses, small business, solopreneurs. And I did a lot of, well, I have a master's degree in public relations. At that time, was doing a lot of video production, photography, graphic design, publishing. So I started it with the idea of having a PR agency type business. But all the work I was getting was graphic design and photography, which was okay, but that kind of became my niche. And I loved it. I mean, I really, really loved what I do. But when you talk about making money with your passion or having a passion-based business, you would think that some of those things were my passions, like photography, and I really didn't think of those as my true passions. I mean, I loved doing them, but they were such a part of me that it was just like business as usual. This is what I do. So my passion really was to help other business owners grow their business. That's what I wanted to do. So I was doing a lot of, brochures and photography. I even did weddings at one point, and I was doing a lot of publishing. I did books, and I was publishing these women's journals, and it brought me a lot of money. I recently gave that up. And so this went on for about 6 years. Of course, after that first year, we were in a recession. So I didn't make the 6-figure income again. However, I still did replace my income from my job over and over again. So that wasn't the problem. What became the problem, and Claudia kind of touched on this, was that people were coming to me for, a business card here or a brochure there or, some kind of marketing piece. And I started to feel like a monkey, honestly, because they really just wanted me to get the job done for them because I had the talent and the skill, and I'm also a copywriter. But I wasn't really working with them on a deep level. And Claudia mentioned it, when you start coaching with somebody, you are working with them on a deeper level to really have an impact on their lives, on their business, to see real growth, to help them grow. So around 2012, after doing the $1 per hour thing, I kind of, was reevaluating, what am I doing here? Is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? And the other thing was, I specialized in print marketing, and we all know that that's not as lucrative as it once was, but it was okay for me. So I crashed an eWomen network luncheon one day, and I saw this woman speak, and that was the first eWomen network meeting I've gone to. That was the first time I ever really heard about this coaching thing. So she was talking about leveraging your worth. And her program was called Be a Business Badass. So I never clocked down on $1,000 on anything before like that, but you know, she sold me. And I started working with her, and what I started to work toward was a leveraged program where I could reach more people and really go back to working on a deeper level. Not so much doing the doing stuff, but really helping them. So last year, at the beginning of 2014, I rebranded to the Sizzle System of Personal Branding. And what I realized was that I was getting ready to do a talk, and I really didn't have a topic, so I was doing some research. And I really didn't want to talk about print marketing or creativity because that's what I was talking about a lot. So I decided to focus on content development because I was getting into blogging and all that. But then I started reading about personal branding, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is nothing but public relations, you know, combined with some design and visual identity and all that, photography. And I said, this is really what I have been doing for like the past 30 years. So I developed this proprietary system called the Sizzle System of Personal Branding. And the reason I gave you this is so I don't have to explain the whole thing, but there are 6 modules, and I call it marketing from the inside out, because everything you do really needs to be based on what you stand for, your core values. That's really what branding is about. So in the first module, we really go deep to figure out your core values, what you stand for, and then we develop your unique value proposition. From there, we get clear on your identifying your dream client. I call it gathering your tribe, but within that tribe is your dream client, and with a very specific person, and that represents who is going to really become your client. Not everybody in your tribe will, and that's okay. And then I added another module this year, Zig When Everyone Zags, and that is using your story to develop a heart connection with your dream client, with your tribe. So I'm doing a workshop. I put this on your desk, and I am running a special, and I just want to mention that the workshop is basically based on these 3 first modules. What I'm talking about today is the later modules. So once you get all the inner work done and the clarity, then what you have to do is start getting yourself out there. So module 4 is creating compelling marketing messaging, getting very, very clear, learning how to speak to your tribe, to your dream client, making it about them. And then the next one, lure them with your look. And this is really what sets me, one of the things that sets me apart from other people who call themselves branding experts, is that I have been doing the visual identity for like 30 years. So some of my clients that I work with, as you know, in my coaching program, I end up doing their logos or branding them. And so I teach what good visual identity is, because again, it's not based on really what you like, it's based on what they're going to like. And then the last module is elevate your expert status. And this is where you really take everything that you have, you're prepared by this time, and then you get yourself out there. So everything kind of overlaps, but that's the basic process. So that's the Sizzle system. So in the Sizzle system, so today I'm talking about business growth. So like I said, I'm going to focus on 3 areas: visibility, which is establishing your expert status, tracking your numbers, because if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to track your numbers, you have to make money, and then conversion. So in the Sizzle system business model, the way I like to think of it, and I have to say this, one of the things that really kind of just was not resonating with me when I started my business was having to do a marketing plan. And I did one, but I was always like, how am I going to know who's, how many clients I'm going to have, and how do I know how I'm going to reach them if I don't know how much money I'm going to make, all this sort of thing. So I like to say in the Sizzle system, we don't do marketing plans, we do action plans. So it's a more personal thing. course, you do need a marketing plan if you're going to go ask, get a loan or something like that. So I'm not discounting that. I just have my own feelings about it. So in the Sizzle System business model, first, you get an idea for a business. That's the creation step. And then once you create your business, how are you going to set your business apart from everybody else? If you're selling Mary Kay, what are you going to do to get people to come to you as opposed to other people who do the same thing? So after you figure that out, how you're going to be a little different, and that does come in with the branding too, then you brand yourself. And the branding really gives you clarity on the value that you bring to the marketplace. Again, your messaging is clear, you know who you're speaking to, you know what you want your look to be, so you're developing your tone, your look, and all that sort of thing. And once you have that clarity, then you can start marketing. Because unless you have that clarity, you don't know who you're going to be marketing to, what you want to say, how to get yourself out there in the best way. And then, of course, once you do that, the result of your marketing, when it's effective, is going to result in conversion. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, too. All right, so the first step to really increasing your numbers and getting in front of more people is to increase your visibility. And the first, that'll help you get seen, get heard, get known, and establish you as the go-to expert. I'll just kind of put these things together. Okay, so the number one.
Can you give some examples, Carol, of those back steps, how people would get seen, get known to establish themselves as an expert? Would you give us just one or two tips?
Yep. The number one, depending on your business, but a lot of people say the number one way to reach people is through speaking. What I'm doing here, but there are other ways of speaking, depending on your business model. And this is what we do in the Sizzle System too. One of the things you need to get clear on is your business model. I was dollar per hour for so many years, and I was hitting a ceiling. I changed my business model to leverage and reach more people. I'm still doing a little bit of both, but you have to really know how you're going to bring in money. So speaking, there are many, many different ways. Live, like I'm doing right now. If you're online, you can do a webinar. You have to know how to grow your list. You have to have a big list to reach a lot of people. That's a whole different animal. Teleseminars, that's just when you're on the phone. Webinar has slides, or you're on, you're live. And then workshops. How many of you are out there speaking? Okay, a good number. Very good.
And I just wanted to add to what Carol said, that speaking has totally changed, the way I in my case, I share about my business, because when I have different opportunities to speak. I had offered training in the past month. I had also been able to speak in different states and talk about social media. And it gives you that perspective that you're actually reaching a much bigger audience, and you can do that through teaching, which, if you haven't thought about it, it's a great way to brand yourself. And you can also do that as just offering yourself as an expert in a specific field, and go to groups such as this one and share your expertise, so you can amplify your reach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the other one I was going to mention, I'm not going to talk about this because Claudia is the expert with social media. Yeah. And that also, some people throw blogging in. Do you consider blogging social media?
They're two different animals, as I tell my clients, but the blogging actually complements the results that social media will bring, because when we're talking about businesses, we see social media as a way to generate revenue for the business, to grow the business. So the blogging will bring that component on their website, so it will be instant SEO, instant visibility, instant connection with the search engines, because you all know that the more you blog, the more your website will be, you know, visible to the search engines, and we all want to be friends with Google, right? So.
And the other thing blogging does is, can you pass that back there, please? Is establishes you as the expert. It's just one other way because you're writing articles and that sort of thing. And the blog post can go a long way. You know, you can get them on LinkedIn posts, and then you can put them on sites like easyarticles.com, which are heavily, you know, optimized. So you're not doing all the work. And the next one is obviously face-to-face networking. I entered the online world. I find it to be very difficult. I mean, I love it, but there's nothing that replaces face-to-face networking because you get to see people's personality, and it really is about growing the know, like, and trust factor, which social media is.
I just wanted to mention we have 30 people online watching you right now.
No pressure.
I touched up my lipstick. Yeah, no pressure, right?
Since we're mentioning online as a way to, right, grow your visibility, we're on Periscope. I'm scoping your session.
Great, great. So let me ask you this, because networking is great. I'm going to talk about that when I talk about your numbers. How many of you follow up diligently after a networking meeting?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah.
How many of you follow up, are diligent in your follow-up?
Guilty. Queen of not.
Oh, wait, don't?
Don't do.
Oh,
How many of
okay.
you do? How many of you follow up? Do you have a good follow-up plan in place? Okay, very, very good. One of the things I do with my clients is, you know, I am always challenging them to step out of their comfort zone. And I find that the following up is one of the most challenging things for most people to do.
Yep.
So, but very, very important. So if you're networking, you need to be strategic about it. You know, really research before you go to a networking event. Figure out who you want to talk to or what results you want to get, and then the next day or shortly after follow up in some way. All right, the last piece of visibility that I want to talk about is
Before you get to that, I just have a question, because that's an area that I really have issue with. Since nobody's asking questions, so I'm going to ask a question. Okay, I do a ton of networking events. Some weeks I have, like, I'm in front of basically 300 people in 1 week. Okay, different states. So can you give us 3 tips or 2 tips or 1 tip on how to get out of the event and say, this is my action plan, like a quick help? Because I come home, seriously, there was a week that I had cards from 4 different states, and I had 120 cards in front of me, and they're still sitting in front of me. So how do you set a plan in place? And maybe you have a problem with that too. You set a plan in place when you don't have time, because I don't have time.
That's what I was going to mention. Following up takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. What I
know Becky does something with the cards, right, Becky?
Well, not only that, but the platform, just the Full Circle Networking platform, encourages you to follow up face-to-face with people at events and afterwards. So.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes. And Patty has
okay, go ahead, Patty.
Well, I was just going to say, when I'm at because that's a challenge for me too, when I'm at the event, I try to make notes on people's cards. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like CFC would be call for coffee, or, you know, somebody that I really want to follow up with. I send emails to people or call them to try to schedule time to get together. Where I sometimes run into issues is I don't want to be hounding somebody and repeatedly calling them or repeatedly sending them email. So I'm not sure if you have any suggestions there on somebody that you really think like you've made a good connection with this person and want to follow up, but they're not reciprocating. Or maybe Becky can
That's an issue.
Okay.
Because, you know, you call people, and I would say you set aside at least 15 minutes a day to do your follow-up. You call them and they're not there. And you leave a message and they don't call you back, right? So how many times do you try? Maybe 3? You don't want to call every single day, but make a list and then try every once in a while. there are other ways to follow up as well. I'm going to talk about that a little bit when I talk about conversion.
I just wanted to give you your 5-minute warning that you asked me to give
Oh,
you.
okay, all right, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to, because my background's public relations, media placement is a great way to elevate your expert status as well and get in front of different audiences. So one of the ways that the media has changed so much is in the way of traditional press releases, but one thing that everybody here can do is subscribe to haro.com, HARO.com, help a reporter out. And you get an email every day with queries, and you can go through them, they're categorized, and see if there's anything that might apply to you, and then you just, hit reply and write your response, and then the reporter will contact you or not. I don't have such great luck with that, but I did get one of my clients was, a year after I did this for her, and I also issued some press releases, a year later I got a call from a reporter looking for a makeup expert, and she got put on the cover of is it WebMD, the one that's in every, yeah. So she uses that. I mean, she gets great mileage out of that. So it does work.
Do you have to have a press release that you automatically send to them, like, some bit of information, or do you think it's effective to just answer with an email, or do you have to, I can't remember what they call it, but there's a sheet that you have all of your information on, laid out, ready to go. And
Media kit.
Thank you.
You should have a media kit then. But sometimes those queries, they are personal, and you want to answer them.
I know, but you would always answer it, but also include the media kit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing is, as far as public relations goes, you don't have to hire your own PR person, but it always is better to have an outside source promoting you rather than you promoting yourself. Okay. Any questions on visibility?
She has
I have a question. You said it was haro.com,
Yeah.
HARO.com?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That stands for Help a Reporter Out.
Is that nationwide?
Yeah,
Or is it a local?
Type in help a reporter out, help a reporter.
That's nationwide, and there's also prlog.com, which is a free place to put your press releases, and then you can share them on social media.
And I'll just say one thing, I don't know if you can still do it, but a few years ago I was working on a book, and I actually posted as a writer on helpareporterout.com, so it's also a great place. I don't know if you can still do it, because it was a while ago that I did this. If you want to get information, and you're looking to contact people, to ask a question. I mean, my question was, had thank you notes affected your business, a personal thank you note? And I asked for stories of people who actually sent a thank you note, who had a story attached to a note. And I got a ton of response.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's the other way to establish yourself as an expert in increasing visibility, is to write a book. Because, I have an academic background, and publishing was so different just years ago. But now it really is a way just to get yourself out there and get speaking engagements.
Just real quick, talking about speaking engagements. I do a lot of free speaking engagements, and I offer the tools and like an intro to what I do. Is that a good, depending on the audience, is that to say I'll do it for free or when should you start charging for?
Yeah, you're going to be speaking for free probably, because I don't know too many places that charge. I'm not saying that they don't. There are paid speaking engagements, out there. But you really need to establish yourself as the expert, and before you get asked. Most likely, I'm not saying you won't, but there are so many benefits of speaking, and you really need to have a call to action. I have my form that's passed around, my sign-up sheet, but I also have a Stay Connected form, and that's how you stay connected with your audience. I didn't bring one here today, but
I wanted to add something to that, Carol. Sorry, real fast, because Julie, I have a journey like following that, and I have done free speaking engagements, complimentary speaking engagements for a whole year before I was actually requested to come and do a compensated speaking engagement. And can I tell you something? It has totally changed, because the fees are completely different than my hourly fee, and it gave a whole new format to my business. So I would say, if I can tell you something to all of you, just one thing, you should definitely do it, because it puts you on the spotlight where somebody there is a decision maker will say, I want you back and I want you at my event. And this year I did 6 different paid, very profitable speaking engagements. So it's a great way to put your name.
Yeah, but usually you have to be out there for a while before you get those offers.
Yeah, and that's like, I guess my question is, when do you, yeah, like, because I was just asked last night at another networking meeting oh, you should come to my bar association. Do you speak? You know, should I say, is it free?
I would say, is there a stipend involved? That's how I would put it.
Okay.
And then see what they say. And, have a number in your head.
Yeah, I mean, I've been paid for it, I've been not, so it, I don't know when to kind of make that transition.
Okay, so I'm good.
I was just gonna say, you can have one speech that you give that's your free speech. And then everything else, every other topic that you talk on or you get more deeply, that's a paid thing. So the free speech is good information, but not too much information. So you tell them what they need, but not how. You've heard that. So that could be your free speech. And so it's marketing for you, plus offering some good content for people. And you could have a whole bunch of other ones that are paid speeches. And you could give them the option. Say, these are my topics. This is my free speech. These are the ones that I get paid for.
Yeah.
And any profession can do that. Just to finish it up, and I'll give you a whole minute so you can finish your presentation. Like I'm a profession like a realtor. I came to a session. I do a lot of work with real estate companies, and I came to a session where a realtor was actually, a real estate agent was actually sharing tips on how to effectively have your house, a game plan before you even decide to put your house up for sale. So that was amazing. I've never seen realtors give speeches before. They're actually like just waiting for you, right? Or they have a website, or they are on the MLS, and that's it. He actually had a speech at a meeting that had nothing to do with real estate, and he was one of the speakers, and he gave very useful information on how to plan before you decide to hire a realtor. And I know a lot of people like me got out of there and said, if I ever sell my house, I'm definitely contacting him. So for you, it's just, there's no, for any profession, you can find ways to have that as a plan. I'm going to speak. Okay, Carrie, you have 1 minute, honey. I'm so sorry to be.
Okay, so that's what I was going to say. When you're speaking, when you're tracking your numbers, you're setting your numbers for 2016. Decide how many speaking engagements you want to schedule over the year. Also, sponsorships, I kind of put them in the same category. Get a networking plan. How many networking events do you want to attend every week, every month? Which ones work for you? So the other tracking your numbers are the obvious, right? How much do you have to bring in every quarter to stay on track for what you want to bring in for the year? How many touches do you want to make? How many people do you want to get in front of? So if you want to get in front of so many people in a month, you're going to have to get out and do more networking or more speaking engagements. So just keep an eye out on that. The last thing I want to talk about is conversion, because conversion, most people think of conversion as making the sale, but conversion really is not making the sale. Ultimately, it will lead to that, but it is really just inspiring somebody to take you up on your call to action. Whether it's, liking you, connecting on Facebook, on social media, whether it's subscribing to your e-zine, whatever. So there are 5 steps in the conversion process, and I'm going to do this real quick, but the first one is the moment of introduction. When you meet somebody, of course, you're not going to try to sell them anything. You're going to hand them your business card. Hopefully your business card will be nicely branded, and they're going to remember you. But that's the first thing. And then the second step is to get them into your world, connect with them. And then the third and I'm going really fast, is to get them to attend an event. So if you are speaking, if you have a networking event, whatever it is, try to get them to come, whether it's a webinar. A webinar really is a low conversion thing. If 100 people sign up, you'll be lucky to get 25. We'll have a strategy in place to try to increase those numbers. So everything is strategic when it comes to conversion. And so then the fourth is to get them to buy something somehow. You never ask somebody to come to your website to buy something. Well, I'm not going to say never, because some of you do sell products, but people will not go to your website specifically to buy. You really have to create that relationship first. So if you're a coach, you might get people on the phone to have a strategy session. You might have, I'm having a workshop. I hope you can all come on November 18th. So it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be something small, and oftentimes it is going to be something small that leads into the larger programs. Okay, and then the fifth is, once they're your client, you want to get them to share. So you want to create a tribe of raving fans that they're going to be, your ambassadors and spread the word about you, so you don't have to work so hard. So that is conversion. So conversion really is a series of yeses, and those yeses are the path to possibility. And the possibility is the bridge into a larger vision so people can see the larger vision of themselves. So you always want to really have that focus on the result, not so much what you're going to sell.